Today we're going to be discussing some of the things I want to see from the next original Star Wars film. We aren't talking about the Mandalorian movie coming out soon, but rather what I want from the next Star Wars film that is telling an original story. With that, let's just jump into the video. There are a few key things I think will really set this movie apart and hopefully get Star Wars back into what I call the hype age. I loved every Star Wars movie except for Rise of Skywalker. I'm a big Star Wars guy. It's in my blood. I really can't do anything about it. But here is what I really want from Star Wars that does have a track record somewhat of working. I think the next thing I want from an original Star Wars film is something completely outside of the Skywalker saga. I think the Skywalker saga is holding back so much from the world building of Star Wars. I think either more stories that fit into the world but kind of have a little bit to do with the Skywalker saga might work, thinking like Rogue One, or a movie that is completely outside of the Skywalker saga that is done right would hopefully breathe a fresh air into the franchise that the Star Wars franchise has had to have for a while now. I still love the majority of the films, and I think there's a lot you can do. I still think there's this idea that Star Wars is only the Skywalkers, and I think stories outside of that, with that idea of the Skywalkers being kind of the background, would be really interesting. The other thing I think would be really interesting is more of a Jedi-centric idea, telling the different eras of the Jedis, thousands of years before Skywalkers, and just the whole idea of when the Jedis came from, kind of just their whole mythology is really interesting, and telling a story inside there would be really cool. I love Star Wars, so the entire extended universe is really interesting to me. So I think by doing that, you can really open up the whole world of Star Wars in a very, very interesting and cool way, by just kind of like exploring the different eras and times of the Jedi Order. The other thing I want from the next theatrical Star Wars film is kind of a mixture of the more serious themes from Andor and kind of the more adventure feelings from Solo. A perfect mixture between those two would be really, really interesting in my opinion, because I think Andor is very serious and I think Solo is very fun and very much a very big like adventure type of film, which I think might work if you kind of try to combine both of those feelings. In my opinion, for Star Wars, it's kind of the same way I feel about superhero films. They're kind of all very distinctly lacking of a specific genres. It's all just Star Wars. I think creating different genres of Star Wars films would really work. Comedies, romantic comedies, thrillers, horror movies with Darth Vader would be crazy. Heist movies, kind of like what you saw sort of in The Last Jedi, but like a whole movie just about that. The issue that you kind of run into at a certain point is that you can't make a bunch of Star Wars movies that all feel like the original Star Wars without the original Star Wars becoming oversaturated. I understand that for budgets and for studios that are really worried about trying to get that budget back, it's hard to justify making genre films, but I think at a certain point, it's the only way forward. Let me know what you think. Do you think Star Wars needs a massive shift in genre in order to be any good? Or would you rather them just keep making Star Wars films the way that they have? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. If you want to follow my socials, it is at MediaByte Company on Instagram and at MediaByte Co on TikTok. Patreon is also down there. All the podcasts are ad-free on Patreon, as well as uncut streams are there too. You usually have to private the streams that are on YouTube. I might have to start streaming on Patreon entirely, just how it is. It's only $5 to get access to everything. That is all in the description down below. And thank you. So listen to all the podcasts on the MediaByte Podcast Network. You can find them all on your favorite podcast apps. Hopefully, if they're not, let me know. I'll make sure it gets there. And with that, I will see you in the next one. Peace.